The sun was just starting to dip behind the trees, casting long shadows over the sleepy town of Willow Creek. It was one of those quiet places where everyone knew, everyone or thought they did, but tonight a shadow darker than dusk was about to creep into the heart of this peaceful town. "Mom, where's Jamie?" 12-year-old Emma called out, her voice trembling as she scanned the backyard. The backyard of the old Miller family farmhouse, the one with peeling paint and an ancient swing set that creaked in the breeze. The family had gathered there for a late summer barbecue, laughing, grilling burgers, and telling stories like they always did. But now, that laughter had died down, replaced by worry. Jamie, Emma's little brother, just 7 years old, was nowhere to be found. The adults started searching, their voices rising in panic. "Has anyone seen Jamie?" Grandpa Miller barked, his weathered face tightening with worry. The police were called. Soon, flashing red and blue lights cut through the evening gloom. Officer Carter Thompson arrived quickly, calm but alert. He was the kind of cop who'd grown up nearby and knew the importance of acting fast. But tonight, even he could feel the unease thick in the air. "Let's keep it calm," Carter said, pulling out his radio. "We'll start a perimeter sweep. Bring in the K-9 unit." The German shepherd that came bounding toward him was named Rex Sharp, intelligent and loyal to a fault. Carter had worked with Rex for over 5 years, and they shared a bond that went beyond words. As Rex sniffed the ground, his ears perked up. The scent was faint, but there, the unmistakable trail of a small child. Inside the house, family members gathered in the dim kitchen, their faces pale. The Millers were a well-known family in Willow Creek, respected and powerful in their own right. But something felt off tonight, like the air itself was holding its breath. Emma's mother, Lisa, was frantically trying to hold herself together. "Jamie would never just wander off," she said, voice cracking. "Someone took him." Her words hung heavy in the room. What no one knew, not yet, was that the danger didn't come from strangers lurking in the dark woods outside town. The threat was far closer to home. Someone inside their trusted circle had plans no one could have imagined. The K-9 team worked through the night, following Rex's lead. The dog moved with purpose, nose to the ground, ears twitching for any sign. They traced a path leading away from the farm, through winding dirt roads, and into the outskirts of town where the old warehouses sat abandoned. In the midst of this growing storm, word spread quickly. Media vans rolled into Willow Creek, cameras flashing and reporters shouting questions. The town's serene facade shattered, revealing a knot of fear and suspicion underneath. Among those who answered the call for help was a man named Robert Sinclair, a wealthy entrepreneur, known for his philanthropic work, but also for his deep ties to the Miller family. He arrived quietly, offering his private resources, helicopters, search teams, and advanced technology. The police were wary at first. This was small-town law enforcement, not used to handling millionaire involvement. But desperate times called for desperate measures, and Robert's assistance proved invaluable in the early hours. As Rex and Officer Thompson paused to catch their breath, Carter glanced toward the distant lights of the warehouse district. A chill ran down his spine. "This isn't random," Carter said quietly. "Someone close to Jamie. Someone who knows us." Rex growled softly, as if agreeing. The first 30 seconds of the night had shifted everything. The town's sense of safety was gone, replaced by a chilling question: who would hurt a child and why? Midway, call to action. If you love stories about courage and heroism, especially the incredible bond between canine dogs and their handlers, make sure to subscribe to Brave Animals on YouTube. We bring you real-life tales of bravery that warm your heart and keep you on the edge of your seat. Don't miss out. The search intensified. Carter and Rex pressed deeper into the shadows. The scent trail led to a forgotten warehouse, its rusted doors hanging crooked and the windows boarded up. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence. Signs showed the place hadn't been abandoned as long as it seemed. A stray blanket, a child's worn shoe, small, heartbreaking clues that told a story of someone trapped and waiting. Back at the farmhouse, family tensions simmered beneath polite faces. Old grudges whispered in hushed conversations. The Millers, once united, now looked at one another with suspicion. Lisa's eyes darted nervously. "We have to find him. Whoever did this, they'll pay." Robert Sinclair stood quietly in the corner, his expression unreadable. His family ties to the Millers were complicated. There were things he didn't say, secrets buried deep beneath the surface. As dawn approached, Carter thought about what lay ahead. This wasn't just a search for a missing child. It was the beginning of a battle against betrayal, power, and a truth too painful for Willow Creek to face. The morning sun spilled golden light over Willow Creek. But for the Miller family, the day brought no comfort, only the heavy weight of unanswered questions. Jamie was still missing, and with every hour that passed, the sense of hope thinned like fog over the nearby river. Officer Carter Thompson stood outside the Miller farmhouse, watching the search teams organize. Volunteers combed the woods, neighbors scanned the fields, and helicopters buzzed overhead, slicing through the morning air. But Carter's attention remained fixed on Rex, who was quietly focused, muscles coiled and ready. The scent trail from the previous night was faint, but Rex hadn't lost it. Carter trusted the dog implicitly. Rex was more than just a police canine. He was family. "All right, Boyd," Carter said, patting Rex's flank. "Let's pick up where we left off." They headed toward the warehouse district at the town's cluster of old brick buildings, once bustling with commerce, but now mostly silent. Their boarded windows and rusting signs, a testament to better days long past. As they moved through the cracked pavement and discarded debris, Carter's radio buzzed to life. "Unit 3, to command. We've got a lead on a possible sighting near the old Sinclair property." Carter froze. Sinclair, the name, held weight in Willow Creek. Robert Sinclair, the millionaire who had stepped up last night with offers of help and resources, was a man whose influence stretched far beyond the town limits. "Copy that," Command Carter responded, eyes narrowing. "Rex and I are en route." The Sinclair estate was a sprawling compound tucked away in the wooded hills just beyond the warehouses. Its sprawling grounds were gated and heavily guarded, but Carter had permission to enter. Robert's involvement meant the search was no longer just local. It had gone high profile inside the estate. Robert paced the polished floors of his study, his face taut with worry. The news of Jamie's disappearance had rattled him deeply, not just because of the family connection, but because he knew secrets that others did not. His relationship with the Millers was complicated, a tangled web of past alliances, betrayals, and old debts. Robert had power, money, and influence, but tonight none of that mattered as much as finding that missing child. The phone buzzed, pulling him back from his thoughts. "Mr. Sinclair, Officer Thompson is on the property. He's requesting to meet you." Robert sighed and headed to the front door. "Let's get to work." Back at the warehouse district, Carter and Rex followed the faint scent into the heart of the abandoned industrial area. The air was thick with dust and the smell of rust and old wood. The buildings loomed like silent giants, their broken windows staring down like empty eyes. Rex's nose twitched as he led Carter to a particular building, one that stood apart from the rest. Its heavy metal door was partially open, swinging slightly on creaky hinges. Carter motioned for backup as he cautiously pushed the door wider. Inside, the warehouse was cavernous and dimly lit, shafts of light cutting through the gloom. Old machinery, rusted barrels, and scattered debris created a maze of shadows. Rex moved silently, nose close to the ground. He stopped abruptly near a stack of wooden crates. Carter's heart pounded as Rex's tail stiffened. He'd found something. A child's worn sneaker peeked out from behind a crate. "Jamie," Carter called softly. There was no answer, but from deeper in the shadows came a faint, shaky whimper. Carter signaled for officers to move in quietly. They fanned out, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. Somewhere in the depths of the warehouse, a scared child waited. Meanwhile, at the Sinclair estate, Robert and Carter sat at a large oak table, maps and surveillance images spread before them. "We're getting closer," Carter said, rubbing the back of his neck, "but whoever's holding Jamie knows what they're doing. This isn't some random kidnapping." Robert nodded grimly. "My family has skeletons in the closet. There are people who'd do anything to keep certain things buried." Carter looked up, meeting Robert's eyes. "Are you saying someone close to the Millers is involved?" Robert hesitated, then said, "I'm afraid so, but we don't have proof yet. That's why we have to be careful." Carter understood all too well. In small towns, power and loyalty often blurred the lines between friend and foe. Back at the warehouse, the rescue team followed Rex's lead to a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. Carter checked his flashlight and motioned for the team to move slowly. The stairs creaked underfoot as they descended into the basement of cold, damp space that smelled of mildew and fear. Suddenly, a soft cry echoed through the cavernous room. "Jamie," Carter whispered, voice breaking. There, huddled in a corner, was the boy. He was thin, his clothes torn and dirty, but alive. Tears streamed down Emma's mother's face as she rushed forward, wrapping Jamie in a warm embrace. "It's okay, baby. We're here." Carter kept his eyes peeled, knowing the danger wasn't over. The kidnapper could still be nearby. As they helped Jamie to his feet, a shadow moved near the doorway, figure darting away through a side exit. "Stop," Carter shouted, but the person was gone before anyone could react. The days that followed were a whirlwind of interviews, investigations, and sleepless nights. Jamie was safe, but the questions remained. Who had taken him? Why? And how deep did the betrayal run? The police worked tirelessly, piecing together evidence. Robert Sinclair's resources helped uncover phone records and surveillance footage that hinted at the kidnapper's identity. Meanwhile, the Miller family was fracturing under the strain. Whispers of distrust and accusations filled the air. Old wounds reopened, and loyalties shifted like sand. Carter found himself caught in the middle of more than just a criminal investigation. This was a battle for the truth, a fight against shadows from the past that threatened to consume everyone involved. But through it all, Rex remained steady and unshakable presence, a beacon of hope in the darkness. One evening, as Carter sat at his kitchen table, reviewing case files, his phone buzzed. Carter Roberts' voice came through, low and urgent. "We've got a new lead. Someone's been watching the Millers, and it's not just a coincidence." The pieces were starting to come together, but the full picture was still hidden. Carter looked out the window at the quiet streets of Willow Creek, wondering how many secrets lay beneath the surface of this small town, and whether the truth would set them free or destroy them all. The evening sky settled into a dark, moody blue as Willow Creek's sleepy streets grew quiet. But somewhere at the edge of town, the old warehouse district pulsed with the energy of a growing mystery. The scent trail Rex had followed the night before still hung in the air like a faint whisper, leading Officer Carter Thompson back to the forgotten building. Inside the Sinclair estate, Robert Sinclair sat in his study, the low hum of a vintage clock marking time as his thoughts raced. He knew this wasn't just about finding Jamie anymore. It was about uncovering the hidden fractures in a family's facade. His connection to the Millers ran deeper than anyone knew, and the secrets buried beneath years of whispered conversations threatened to unravel everything. But for tonight, there was only one priority: locating the missing boy. Carter's boots echoed softly on the cracked concrete floor of the warehouse as he entered, flashlight slicing through the darkness. The air was thick with dust and the metallic temps of rust. Old crates and broken machinery lay scattered, their shadows dancing in the beam of his light. Rex moved with precision, nose close to the ground, ears twitching. Carter trusted his partner completely. The dog was their best hope. "Stay close, Rex," Carter whispered. The warehouse was a maze full of dead ends and potential danger. Every sound seemed amplified in the cavernous space. Suddenly, Rex stopped. His hackles rose, and a low growl rumbled in his throat. Carter followed the dog's gaze to a stack of crates piled near a heavy metal door. "Card B here," Carter said softly, motioning for backup on his radio. Within minutes, other officers joined, flashlights bobbing as they swept the area. The atmosphere was tense. Everyone knew what was at stake behind the metal door. A faint sound caught Carter's attention, a small, scared voice barely audible. "Jamie." The voice cracked in response, a child's whisper, "Help." Carter's heart tightened. They were close. The door was locked, but not securely. With practiced hands, Carter pried it open, revealing a dimly lit room. There, curled up on a threadbare blanket, was Jamie, dirt-smudged, scared. But alive. Tears filled Lisa Miller's eyes as she rushed forward, wrapping her arms around her son. "You're safe now, Jamie. Mommy's here." Jamie clung to her. Trembling, Carter kept a watchful eye on the room's shadows. "This isn't over," he muttered. Outside, the night air was thick with unease. The police began securing the warehouse, searching for clues and possible escape routes. The kidnapper had left traces, hurried footprints, a torn piece of fabric caught on a rusty nail. A single toy car abandoned in the dirt. Robert arrived shortly after, his usual polished demeanor replaced by grim determination. "I've been reviewing some family records," Robert said quietly to Carter. "There's more going on beneath the surface than anyone wants to admit." Carter nodded. "We're seeing it firsthand. Someone close, someone trusted, is involved." Robert's jaw clenched. It's time to bring those secrets into the light. As the team combed through the warehouse, Carter found himself drawn to a locked office. At the back, his door was heavy and marked with peeling paint, but the lock was old, with a crowbar and a bit of force. Carter pushed it open. Inside, the room was a stark contrast: neat files stacked on metal shelves, a desk covered in papers, and on the wall a faded family portrait, the Millers, smiling, united. But Carter could see the cracks in the smiles. On the desk, a notebook lay open. Carter flipped through it, his eyes widening at the names and notes inside, a hidden ledger detailing loans, favors, and debts owed. This wasn't just a kidnapping. It was a power play. As he read, footsteps approached. Robert stood in the doorway, his face unreadable. "You found what I feared," Robert said. Carter looked up. "This goes deeper than we thought. If we expose this, it could tear the family apart." Robert nodded slowly. Sometimes tearing down the old walls is the only way to build something better. Meanwhile, back at the Miller farmhouse, the family was unraveling. Old alliances were crumbling under the weight of suspicion and fear. Lisa confronted her sister-in-law Sarah, a woman known for her cold pragmatism. "Did you know anything about this?" Lisa demanded, holding up a torn piece of paper found in the warehouse. Sarah's eyes flickered, then hardened. "You think I would hurt Jamie? Think again." But doubt had been planted. The community whispered to neighbors, exchanged glances, rumors flying like wildfire. The once close-knit town was fracturing, caught between loyalty and the fear of betrayal. That night, Carter sat in his patrol car, replaying the day's discoveries in his mind. Rex rested beside him, exhausted but alert. The missing boy was found, but the true mystery was still locked away. Somewhere in the shadows of the Millers' tangled history, his radio crackled to life. "Carter, command. We've got surveillance. Footage from a nearby traffic camera. It shows a figure leaving the warehouse minutes before you arrived." Carter's pulse quickened. "Send it over." The grainy video showed a tall silhouette slipping into a dark sedan. Its license plate blurred, but just visible enough for a trained eye. "This could be our kidnapper," Carter said. Robert joined him minutes later, phone in hand. "I'm running background checks," Robert said. The car's registered to someone with close ties to the Millers, someone with everything to gain. The days ahead promised to be long and hard. The lines between family and foe blurred, and the truth became a prize that could cost more than anyone was willing to pay, but Carter and Rex were ready to face whatever lay ahead. Because in Willow Creek, sometimes the greatest dangers came from the people you thought you could trust. And sometimes, the bravest heroes were the ones who sniffed out the truth in the darkest places. The tension in Willow Creek thickened like a summer storm. As the investigation into Jamie's kidnapping progressed, shadows grew longer, not just outside the old warehouse, but deep within the Miller family itself. Secrets that had once been whispered in quiet corners were now crawling out into the open, threatening to unravel everything. Officer Carter Thompson sat across from Robert Sinclair. In the dimly lit conference room at the police station, the air was heavy with the scent of stale coffee and determination. The two men pored over files, surveillance footage, and phone records that hinted at a complicated web of alliances and betrayals. Robert leaned forward, folding his hands on the table. "This isn't just a simple kidnapping, Carter, the person. Behind this, they're motivated by something bigger than money or spite. This is about control." Carter rubbed his chin thoughtfully. "Control over what?" Robert's gaze darkened. "The Miller family estate, the farms, the businesses, everything. Whoever orchestrated this wanted to send a message." Carter nodded slowly. "So the kidnapper is not just holding Jamie hostage, but trying to leverage the family's power." "Exactly." Robert's voice dropped. And the person behind it has the kind of influence that makes even the police think twice. Meanwhile, back at the Miller farmhouse, the family's polite facade was cracking. The once warm kitchen had turned into a battleground of whispered accusations and stolen glances. Lisa Miller, Jamie's mother, paced the floor, clutching a faded photograph of her children. Her eyes were red-rimmed from sleepless nights and endless worry. Her voice trembled as she confronted Sarah, her sister-in-law. "You knew something. I can see it in your eyes, Sarah. You were always cold toward Jamie. What did you do?" Sarah's lips pressed into a thin line. "I didn't do anything to Jamie, but I won't deny there are old grudges. Your family's decisions have hurt a lot of people." The tension was electric. Lisa's voice rose. "You better hope I never find out what you're hiding." Across town, the community was watching closely. Neighbors whispered over fences, and old friends kept their distance. Willow Creek had always been a place where family meant everything, but now, trust was the first casualty. At the local diner, conversations buzzed with speculation. "Did you hear? The kidnapper might be family," one patron said, lowering his voice. "Hard to believe, but you never know," another replied. The Millers have always been wrapped up in their own drama. Back at the police station, Carter and Robert reviewed a fresh Lida list of suspicious transactions and unexplained phone calls, linking members of the Miller family to a shadowy figure named Clayton Masters. Masters was a local businessman, with a reputation for ruthless deals and a knack for making problems disappear. Robert grimaced. "Masters is dangerous. He's got fingers in every pie. If he's involved, this could get ugly." Carter tapped the screen. "We need to find out his connection to the family and how deep this goes." That night, Carter and Rex returned to the warehouse district. The canine's keen senses were vital, especially in places where human eyes struggled. As they walked the perimeter, Rex suddenly stopped and growled. Ears pricked. Carter followed the dog's gaze to a loose floorboard near the back of the warehouse. It was barely noticeable, but Rex pawed at it insistently. Carter pried it open, revealing a hidden crawl space beneath the floor. Inside, tucked away in the dark, were documents, ledgers, old contracts, and letters stained with age and secrets. He carefully collected the papers and radioed Robert. "This might be what we've been missing." At Robert's estate, he pored over the documents with growing concern. The ledgers detailed years of under-Thiebel deals, land transfers, and bribes implicating members of the Miller family and Clayton Masters himself. "This confirms it," Robert said. "This isn't just about Jamie. It's about taking down a rival." Carter nodded. "We need to act fast before more damage is done." As dawn broke over Willow Creek, the pressure mounted. The truth was dangerous, and those involved were desperate to keep it hidden. Lisa stood by Jamie's bedside, watching him sleep. The boy was safe now, but the fear lingered. Her mind raced with questions. Who betrayed them? Why? And could they ever truly be safe again? In the shadows, Clayton Masters watched the news reports with a cold smile. He knew the game was far from over, and in Willow Creek, the battle for power had only just begun. The night was thick with tension, the kind that made every shadow seem alive and every sound echo like a warning. Willow Creek's old warehouse district had transformed into a fortress of secrets and danger. For Officer Carter Thompson and the K-9 unit, tonight was the moment everything came to a head. Carter adjusted his tactical gear, checking the clip in his pistol one last time. Rex sat patiently by his side, ears perked and eyes sharp, ready for whatever lay ahead. The other officers moved silently behind them, their breaths steady but their nerves taut. "Remember," Carter whispered, voice low and steady, "this is more than just a rescue. It's a test of trust between us, the community, and the family." He glanced around at the faces illuminated by flashlight beams and the soft glow of tactical vests. Everyone knew the stakes. No one wanted to fail Jamie or the town that was counting on them. The team approached the warehouse with deliberate caution. The building's rusted exterior looked innocent enough in the moonlight, but Carter knew better. Inside, in the maze of dark rooms and cold concrete, Jamie was waiting, scared but alive. Rex led the way, nose to the ground, sniffing for any trace of the kidnapper. His sharp senses picked up on a faint scent trail weaving through the labyrinthine corridors. Carter followed closely, signaling the team to move in pairs. The plan was simple but risky. Find Jamie, secure the perimeter, and apprehend the kidnapper before they could escape or do harm. Suddenly, Rex stopped, ears twitching. He growled softly and pawed at a loose floorboard near the back wall. Carter's heart pounded here, Carter whispered, pulling out a crowbar and prying open the panel. Behind the panel was a narrow crawl space. Carter crawled in first, flashlight in hand. The smell was musty and cold. There, curled up on a tattered blanket, was Jamie. The boy's eyes widened when he saw Carter. "Jamie, it's okay," Carter said gently. "We're here to get you out." Jamie nodded weakly, clutching a worn teddy bear. Carter scooped him into his arms, relief flooding through him. But as they began to crawl out, a sudden noise echoed behind them, a door slamming shut. "Move," Carter shouted. The team hurried to the exit, but as they reached the main floor, the kidnapper appeared, a tall figure in a dark hoodie, face obscured. "Stop right there," Carter commanded, drawing his pistol. The figure hesitated, then bolted toward a back exit. Rex lunged, barking fiercely. A tense chase ensued through the warehouse's twisting corridors. The kidnapper was fast, but Carter and Rex were faster. Cornered near a loading dock, the figure stumbled and fell. Carter cuffed the kidnapper as backup arrived. The man's hood slipped back to reveal a face familiar yet unexpected: Jacob Miller, Lisa's estranged brother. The revelation sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. Jacob had always been the black sheep, a man haunted by past mistakes and bitterness. But no one had imagined he'd go this far. In the interrogation room, Jacob sat silently, head bowed. When Carter confronted him, Jacob finally spoke. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," he said, voice hollow. "I just wanted to scare them, to get what was owed to me." He spoke of family disputes, old wounds, and a desperate attempt to claim a piece of the Miller estate. Meanwhile, Robert Sinclair worked behind the scenes, coordinating with prosecutors and lawyers. His influence ensured the case moved swiftly, bringing justice while protecting the family from further harm. At the hospital, Jamie recovered, surrounded by his loving family. Lisa held him close, tears of relief and gratitude streaming down her face. The town breathed a collective sigh of relief, but the scars ran deep. Carter stood outside the hospital one evening, watching the sun set over Willow Creek. Rex rested beside him. The faithful companion who had once again helped save a life. "Good job, buddy," Carter whispered, patting Rex's head. "The investigation. It was far from over, but tonight justice had prevailed. And for Willow Creek, that was enough." The sun rose slowly over Willow Creek, casting a warm glow across the town's familiar streets. It was a new day, but for many, the events of the past weeks lingered like a stubborn shadow. The rescue of Jamie Miller was hailed as a triumph, yet beneath the surface, the ripples of betrayal and family secrets continued to stir. Officer Carter Thompson stood outside the Miller farmhouse, watching as Jamie played quietly with his sister, Emma, on the front porch. The boys' laughter was light, almost carefree, a sharp contrast to the fear and uncertainty that had gripped them all not long ago. Lisa Miller watched from the doorway, her eyes tired but filled with hope. She caught Carter's gaze and gave a small, grateful nod. "It's good to see him smiling again," Carter said quietly. Lisa smiled softly. "We're healing slowly, but we're getting there." Back at the police station, Carter and Robert Sinclair reviewed the final pieces of the investigation. Jacob Miller's confession had shaken the family to its core, but the truth was necessary. Justice had been served, but it wasn't the end. Robert's voice was thoughtful. "Families are complicated, Carter. Sometimes the hardest battles are fought within," Carter nodded. "And sometimes those battles leave scars that don't show." Their work wasn't done, not entirely. There were still questions to answer, secrets to uncover, and a community to mend. In the weeks that followed, Willow Creek slowly began to return to normal. The media attention faded, and the town resumed its quiet rhythm. But the Millers were forever changed. Sarah Miller, once distant and guarded, reached out to Lisa. "We have to find a way forward," she said one afternoon over coffee. For Jamie's sake and ours, Lisa hesitated, then smiled. "I want that too." It wasn't forgiveness yet, too much had happened for that, but it was a start. At the Sinclair estate, Robert met with local leaders, pushing for community programs aimed at healing and support. He believed that no family should suffer in silence. "We can't change the past," he told them, "but we can build a future where secrets don't fester in the dark." Officer Carter Thompson found himself reflecting on the case during quiet moments. The bond between him and Rex had never felt stronger. Together, they had uncovered the truth, saved a child, and helped a town face its demons. But Carter knew that not all wounds were visible. One evening, as he walked Rex through the town square, a neighbor approached. "Thanks for everything, officer," she said. "We're lucky to have you and Rex." Carter smiled. "It's a team effort, and every day is a chance to make things better." As the story settled into memory, the question remained, what happens when the people we trust most become the ones we fear? How do we rebuild when betrayal comes from within? For Willow Creek, the journey toward healing was just beginning. Thank you to our viewers. Thank you so much for following Jamie's story and the brave efforts of Officer Carter, Rex, and everyone involved. Stories like this remind us of the strength found in community, the power of loyalty, and the courage it takes to face hard truths. We'd love to hear from you. Have you ever experienced a moment where trust was broken by someone close? How did you find the strength to move forward? Leave your thoughts and stories in the comments below. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe to Brave Animals for more real-life stories of courage, hope, and heroism.